Welcome to Christian Thought. Today we are going to ask the question, what is a Christian? There are many people out there claiming to be Christian, and how do we know whether we are truly Christian or not? There are 5 basic things you must believe and do to be a Christian, and today we're going to examine those 5 things in this short presentation. Number 1 is that God is real. A foundational truth. God is. Hebrews 11:1-3, and then verse 6. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. For by it the people of old received their commendation. By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. And without faith it is impossible to please him. For whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists, and that he is the rewarder of those who seek him. Faith is needed because no man has seen God. We know he is because of the creation of the world and the creation of ourselves. These testify to a creator who is God. So we must believe first off, as a foundation, that God is. And everything else flows from that in the Christian faith. Number 2, God came in the flesh. That is Emmanuel, God with us. And his name is Jesus, and Jesus is God in the flesh. So we'll read from Matthew 1:21-23. She, that is the Virgin Mary, will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. And the Apostle John writes in 1 John 4:2-3, By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard was coming and now is in the world. And in 2 John, verse 7, For many deceivers have gone out in the world, those who do not confess the coming of Jesus Christ in the flesh. Such a one is a deceiver and an antichrist. So you must believe as a Christian that Jesus, that is God, came in the flesh. And number 3, fundamental doctrine of the Christian faith is that Jesus is the Christ. Now, Christ is a title which means the anointed one. And so Daniel the prophet spoke many centuries before Christ even came into the world. He says, Know therefore and understand that from the going out of the word to restore and build Jerusalem to the coming of the anointed one, a prince, there shall be 77 weeks. Then for 62 weeks it shall be built again with squares and moats, but in a troubled time. And so the Messiah, the Christ, the anointed one, was prophesied many centuries before he came. And so he came, that is Jesus, the Christ. So 1 John 2:2 says this, Who is a liar but he who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This is the Antichrist, he who denies the Father and the Son. And in chapter 5, verse 1 of 1 John, Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves whoever has been born of him. So Jesus is the Christ. Number 4 is probably the one that troubles people the most, and it is Jesus is Lord, or Jesus Christ is Lord. So the question is, what is a Lord? It's one who rules over us. We are said in 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20 that we are bought with a price and we don't belong to ourselves. You are not your own, for you are bought with a price. So he owns us, in fact. And in Titus 3:13 and 14, it says we're a people for his own possession. So Jesus, being Lord and ruling over us, he also owns us. For we are bought with a price, and that price was his blood shed for us. And so, in Acts 2:36, the Apostle Peter says this, "Let all the house of Israel therefore know for certain that God has made him both Lord and Christ, this Jesus whom you crucified." And in Romans 10:8 and 10, "But what does it say? The word is near you, in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word of faith that we proclaim. Because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved." Do you confess that Jesus Christ is Lord and that he rules over you, and you are not your own, for you are bought with a price, and you are a people for his own possession? For you are bought, he owns you, and you are his. Jesus is Lord. That's why it's troubling. Most people want to believe that they're autonomous, they belong to themselves. But remember this, Jesus paid a ransom with his blood to redeem you. Redeeming means to buy one out of slavery. He bought you out of the slavery of sin and death for a people for his own possession. Jesus is Lord. Confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart, and you will be saved. The fifth truth that tells us whether we are truly Christians or not is you must love the brethren. Love is the practice of righteousness. 1 John 3:10 and 11 says this, "By this is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother. For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another." And so the Apostle Paul writes in Romans chapter 13, 8 through 10, "Owe no one anything except to love each other. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law, for the commandments. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not murder. You shall not steal. You shall not covet. And any other commandment are summed up in this word, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no wrong to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfillment of the law." So love is the practice of righteousness, and righteousness is to keep God's commandments. And so 1 John 3:21 and 24, "Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence before God, and whatever we ask we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him. And this is his commandment, that we believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another just as he has commanded us. And whoever keeps his commandments abides in God, and God in him. And by this we know that he abides in us by the Spirit whom he has given us. So, do you love one another? Love is an essential part of being a Christian. You can't be a Christian and be hateful and murderous and a liar and an adulterer and a sinner. You must love. After examining those 5 points of the Christian faith, I ask you the question again, are you a Christian? Do you believe that God exists? Do you believe that Jesus is God come in the flesh? Do you believe that Jesus is the Christ? Do you believe that Jesus Christ is Lord? And do you love your neighbor? As God loved us and gave himself for us, do you love your neighbor? For God is love, and those who are born of God love also. And those are the 5 points, the 5 foundational points of what it looks like and what it means to be a Christian, what you must believe and what you must do to be a Christian.